Okay, so we're diving into some seriously shady stuff today. Shapeshifters, conspiracies, you name it. We're talking about the cult of Proteus, and I know you've got some history with these guys.
This is not a group you easily forget.
Right. Remember those whispers you followed? The ones that led you to that hidden factory in Heartland? Turns out it wasn't just some random operation, it belonged to the cult's Forge faction.
Mm-hmm.
And from what we can gather, they're blending futuristic tech with ancient magic. Wild, right?
It speaks to the depths of their knowledge and the lengths they'll go to achieve their goals.
And get this, they're just one piece of a much larger puzzle.
What's fascinating here is that the cult's origins are rooted in a tragedy that, well, it's a story for the ages. They weren't always lurking in the shadows. Centuries ago, these shapeshifters were a thriving society on their home planet. Then a systematic genocide nearly wiped them out.
Genocide. Wow. No wonder they're out for revenge.
It's a level of trauma that's almost unimaginable, and it fuels their vendetta to this day. They see anyone who isn't a shapeshifter as an enslaving solid, an enemy to their very existence.
Which means, from their perspective, they see pretty much everyone listening as a direct threat.
Essentially, yes. You represent the status quo, the world that allowed their suffering to happen.
So this isn't just about shadowy figures pulling strings, it's personal. They're fighting for their very existence.
And they're doing it through a network of factions, each with its own twisted area of expertise. It's what makes it so dangerous. They have their hands in everything.
Okay, so let's break down these factions. We've already encountered the Forge. They're the ones building, well, whatever it is they build in those hidden factories. But what about the Eyes of Proteus? I've been getting this feeling like I'm being watched, like eyes are on me everywhere I go. Is it just paranoia, or are these guys really everywhere?
It's probably not paranoia. The Eyes are the cult's intelligence network, the silent watchers, always lurking just beyond your perception, gathering information, anticipating your every move.
So they could be listening right now. Okay, that's officially creepy.
And what's even more unnerving is that they've infiltrated secure locations before, even groups you were directly involved with.
So they've been closer than we thought.
It really highlights how deeply embedded they are, how difficult they are to root out.
Yeah.
All that information they gather, it feeds directly into the cult's other operations, making them even more effective.
Right, because information is power, especially for groups like these.
Exactly. Now, one faction you thankfully don't have to worry about anymore is the Gurus.
Oh, right, the gurus, they're gone.
You were instrumental in their downfall, if you recall.
Well, it wasn't exactly a picnic. That was a wild time. So, for those who need a refresher, what was the deal with the gurus again?
They were led by a single, incredibly powerful psychic who could create copies of himself.
Like clones.
Not exactly clones, more like projections of his consciousness. He was able to control these duplicates independently, using them to infiltrate governments and other powerful organizations.
Right, he was basically puppeteering entire cities from the shadows. It was insane.
It was a level of control the world had never seen.
Yeah, and I managed to break free from his control, which, believe me, was no easy feat. But taking him down was a major blow to the cult, right?
Absolutely. Decapitating the Gurus disrupted their chain of command and threw their plans into disarray. They lost a significant amount of influence and control, but of course it's only a matter of time before they find a way to adapt to fill the void left behind.
Which is why we need to understand their other factions, how they operate, what makes them tick. What about the Hands of Proteus? Their name makes me think of those creepy, disembodied hands you see in old horror movies reaching out from the darkness.
That's actually a pretty apt description.
Are they?
Well, not literally disembodied. The hands are the ones who get their, well, hands dirty. They're the enforcers, carrying out the cult's will through whatever means necessary. Often, that means manipulation and coercion. They're masters of exploiting people's desires, twisting them to serve their own ends.
And they use those desire coins, right? I remember you explaining how those things work, but honestly, it's all a bit fuzzy.
Those coins are insidious. Each one is imbued with a dark magic that amplifies a person's deepest desires, twisting them, turning them into puppets.
I've seen it firsthand. It's not pretty.
It's a stark reminder of how easily our own desires can be used against us.
Speaking of not pretty, what about the Swords of Proteus? I bet they're a fun bunch.
The Swords are the cult's assassins. They're highly skilled, utterly ruthless, and terrifyingly efficient. If the Eyes are the whispers in the shadows, the Swords are the ones who silence anyone who gets too close. And they aren't afraid to get up close and personal.
Yeah, let's just say I have some experience with that. We had a bit of a disagreement a while back, and, well, one of them didn't make it out of that encounter.
And the other one escaped. which means they're still out there, likely aware of your involvement and everything you've uncovered.
Great. Just what I wanted to hear. Okay, so we've got the forge building things, the eyes watching everything, the hands manipulating people, and the swords eliminating anyone who gets in their way. Who does that leave?
Ah, you've saved the best for last. That would be the masterminds, the minds of
Oh,
Proteus.
minds.
They are the strategists, the ones playing the long game. While the other factions might rely on brute force or subtle coercion, the minds deal in something far more insidious: propaganda and brainwashing.
So they're the ideas guys.
They're the ones planting ideas, shaping opinions, and slowly molding the world to fit their vision one mind at a time.
And they're good at it. Their influence is everywhere. From the whispers in noble courts to the unrest brewing in the streets, it's hard to say where their tendrils end. And let's not forget their suspected involvement in Duke Red's situation.
A chilling reminder of their reach, wouldn't you say?
The minds are subtle, but their reach is terrifyingly vast.
Which makes them arguably the most dangerous faction of all. They are the architects of the cult's long-term strategy, the ones pulling the strings from the deepest shadows.
Okay, so we've got 6 factions. The Forge, the Eyes, the Gurus, the Hands, the Swords, and the Minds. Each one a nightmare in its own right.
And this is just what we know. It's entirely possible there are even more layers to this organization, more factions lurking in the darkness, waiting for their moment to strike.
This is bad. Like, really bad, even for our usual standards of bad. But before we get into the potential fallout of all this, we need to talk about another group that's popped up on our radar. The Cretans. And trust me, they make the cult of Proteus look like a bunch of harmless hobbyists.
You're not wrong to be worried. The cult of Proteus is a tangled web, for sure. But the Cretans, there's something else entirely.
Something worse.
Potentially. We're talking about a force that could shatter, well, everything we know. Reality as we understand it.
Okay, yeah, you've definitely got my attention. Last time we talked about the Cretans, you mentioned something about deicide. Am I saying that right? Deicide.
Yeah,
And that's killing gods, right?
precisely.
Okay, see, now that's just ambitious. Most villains I deal with are hacky, conquering a city or two, but wiping out entire pantheons? Gods, that's a whole new level of power hungry.
It's not about power for the Cretans. Not in the traditional sense, at least. They have this belief, you see, that the gods are inherently corrupt,
Oh.
a source of chaos and suffering.
So, by killing them, they think they're doing the universe a favor.
They believe it's the only way to restore balance to the cosmos.
Talk about a god complex.
Their fanaticism runs deep. But they're not just a horde of mindless zealots. The Cretans are a force bred and trained for this specific purpose. Legends speak of an ancient lineage of Goliaths, twisted and honed over generations into, well, the ultimate god-killing machines.
Bred, like in a lab.
The exact methods are shrouded in mystery. But it's clear they possess strength and endurance far beyond any normal Goliath. Some whisper of arcane rituals, blood sacrifices used to infuse them with otherworldly power. Others believe their lineage has been manipulated through, well, let's just say it's been a very long and brutal process.
So a mix of genetic manipulation and magical enhancement. No wonder they're gunning for the big guys upstairs. But if they've been around for centuries, why are we just hearing about them now?
They are incredibly secretive and disciplined. Their organization would put most armies to shame.
Wait, so they have an army?
Their hierarchy is strict, with each member fanatically devoted to their cause. They train from birth in the art of war, studying divine weaknesses, forging weapons specifically designed to slay gods.
So they're not just strong, they're strategic too. This is starting to sound less like a deep dive and more like a horror story.
And at the top of this terrifying hierarchy sits the Archon of War, a figure shrouded in mystery but rumored to have a direct connection to Kratos.
Hold on, Kratos. As in the god of war, Kratos. The one who flipped out and took down the entire Greek pantheon.
The very same. He is their inspiration, the embodiment of their ideals. They even have specialized warriors called harbingers, those who have proven themselves by killing a god. Imagine facing an enemy who not only desires your death, but has dedicated their entire existence to achieving it.
I'd rather not. Okay, this is bad, really bad. But they can't actually think they can kill every god, right? What happens then?
They believe that by eliminating the gods, they will usher in an era of balance and order.
So no more gods, no more divine magic, no more anything. What about everyone else?
They believe their actions are for the greater good, even if it means sacrificing countless lives in the process.
Fanaticism that intense is dangerous. But are they really just all brute force and blind rage? Or is there something more to them?
While they are undeniably formidable warriors, the Cretans are not mindless brutes. Their doctrine emphasizes not just strength, but also cunning, honesty, and unwavering loyalty to their oaths.
So there's a chance we could, I don't know, appeal to their sense of honor. Or maybe use their strict adherence to oaths against them.
It's a possibility, sure. But remember, we are dealing with a group that has spent centuries honing their minds and bodies for a single purpose: the eradication of the gods. They are masters of deception and manipulation, always several steps ahead. Any attempt to outmaneuver them would be incredibly dangerous.
Right, because the last thing we need is to accidentally trigger a cosmic war. Speaking of cosmic wars, how does the cult of Proteus play into all of this? Are they aware of the Cretans?
That is the million-coin question, isn't it? Will these two forces clash, their ideologies colliding in a battle for supremacy? Or could there be some unforeseen alliance, a meeting of minds bent on reshaping the world in their own image?
Honestly, I'm not sure which scenario is scarier. The thought of them fighting each other or joining forces. Either way, things are about to get messy. Okay, so last time we left off with, well, two really bad options. The cult of Proteus, manipulating from the shadows, and the Cretans, ready to wage war on the gods themselves. Either way, it feels like the whole world's about to explode.
It's certainly a volatile situation. And we're still trying to figure out if these factions are going to be lighting the fuse together or trying to put each other out.
It's like a cosmic standoff. Nobody's making a move, but something's got to